After saving for years to buy my parents a new roof for their home, I unveiled it at a family barbecue. My brother laughed, tossed me a beer, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Wow, Big Shot thinks he's better than us now." That night, my parents thanked him publicly for always being their protector. A year later, their roof collapsed during a storm and I wasn't the one they could call anymore. Let me start by saying I never expected to be the favorite. I knew that since I was a kid. My brother Mark always had that role locked down. He was loud, fun, told good stories, and always made people feel like they were the center of the universe for about 5 minutes, until he got bored. I was the quiet one. The one who followed rules, got decent grades, and left home at 18 to work and build something. We grew up just outside Allentown, Pennsylvania, in this beat-up house with a roof that probably should have been replaced when I was in middle school. Every storm brought leaks. There was mold in one of the corners of the ceiling, and sometimes when it rained hard, we'd set out bowls to catch the drips like it was normal. My parents always said they'd fix it next year. But next year never came. They didn't have much money, and what they had usually went to whatever emergency Mark had caused that month. Lost job, car trouble, bad luck with rent. It was always something. I moved out at 18, went west for a job in Pittsburgh. Nothing glamorous. I worked in HVAC, then construction. I lived cheap. No vacations, no fancy dinners. I had one goal: get my parents that new roof. Quietly. Just do it. I thought that if I finally took care of it, maybe they'd see me a little differently. Maybe they'd realize I had always been there in the background, trying to help in my own way. So I saved for years. Didn't tell anyone. When I finally had enough, I hired a trusted local roofer, a guy I knew through an old coworker. I got the best quality materials he offered. Figured if I was doing this, I'd do it right. I scheduled it during a week I knew they'd be busy out of town visiting relatives. The contractor knocked it out in 3 days. I paid every cent up front. Then I invited everyone over the next weekend for a barbecue. Just said I wanted to catch up. I told my mom and dad I'd take care of all the food, drinks, everything. I even brought some stuff from Pittsburgh: ribs, steaks, beer from a local brewery. I was proud. This was going to be the moment. People started showing up. It was a decent crowd: family, neighbors, some of Mark's friends. Mark was there early, already drinking. I stayed calm. About an hour in, I walked out with my dad and said, "Hey, look up." He looked up at the house. At the roof. It took a few seconds. Then my mom came out, and she gasped. "You did this?" she asked, voice shaking. I nodded. "Yeah. Brand new roof. Should last 30 years, maybe more." My dad said nothing. Just sort of nodded. I expected tears. Maybe a hug. At least a real thank you. Instead, Mark laughed. Loud. He walked over, tossed me a cold beer, and said, "Wow, Big Shot thinks he's better than us now." People chuckled awkwardly. He grinned like he was just messing around, but it stung. Then later, when the sun was setting and everyone was eating, my mom stood up to make a toast. I thought maybe she'd say something about the roof. About what I'd done. She raised her glass and said, "Here's to Mark for always being our protector." We don't say it enough. They clinked glasses. Mark bowed like a clown. My dad smiled. I stood there, holding a paper plate full of potato salad and ribs I'd brought, and realized something hard: nothing I ever did would be enough. They didn't want me to save them. They wanted to believe Mark already had. After that night, I pulled back. I still called on birthdays and holidays, but the extra money I used to send? That stopped. When Dad needed a new cane, I didn't rush to Amazon. When Mom mentioned her knee pain, I didn't call around looking for specialists. I didn't ghost them, I just stopped overgiving. They never noticed. Then, last fall, the storm hit. More on that next. The storm hit hard in November. Winds over 60 miles an hour. Sheets of rain. I watched the news from my apartment in Pittsburgh, and the weather guy kept saying eastern Pennsylvania was getting the worst of it. I thought about the roof. The one I paid for. I knew it should have held up. It was built to last. Unless someone had messed with it. I tried not to think too much. I texted my mom that night, everything okay with the house? No answer. Next day, nothing. Day after that, I got a call from my cousin Sheila. You didn't hear? She asked. Hear what? The roof caved in. Over the kitchen. My chest tightened. What? Yeah. It's bad. Whole back section just came down. Mark said the water got in and soaked everything. Is everyone okay? Yeah. Scared but not hurt. Why didn't anyone tell me? She paused. I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to bother you. I thanked her, hung up, and waited. No one called. Not my mom. Not my dad. Not Mark. I waited a week, then cracked and called my mom. Oh, hey, she said like nothing happened. I heard about the roof. Yeah, it's been rough. Do you need help? A pause. No, Mark's handling it. Of course he was. After I hung up, I checked Facebook. And there it was, Mark had set up a GoFundMe. Photos of the damage. A long story about how their home finally gave up after years of wear. No mention of the new roof. No mention of me. The story made it sound like he'd been taking care of everything for years, and now he needed help more than ever. People donated. A lot of people. Aunts, old friends, even people I hadn't heard from in a decade. The comments were all the same, you're such a good son. Your parents are lucky to have you. Hope the repairs go well. Keep us posted, hero. Hero. I sat there, staring at the screen, feeling like someone had punched me in the gut. That's when I called the roofing contractor. He pulled up the job file and remembered it right away. Said the materials were good. No issues when they finished. Then he paused. Actually, he said, someone made changes. I heard about the collapse and looked at the photos. The gutters were removed. Insulation too. Looks like someone was trying to install solar panels or maybe change the drainage, but they messed it up bad. Wasn't part of the original install? Nope. Looks like a DIY job. I knew it wasn't my parents. They wouldn't climb a ladder, let alone rip off roofing materials. There was only one person dumb enough and confident enough to think he could do it on his own. Mark. I started digging. I called neighbors. One of them told me they saw Mark on the roof in August, messing around with something. Another said he'd bragged about modernizing the place for some woman he was dating, said he was fixing it up so we can rent it out later. So I put it all together. Timeline. Pictures. Contractor's statement. Neighbors' quotes. Screenshots of Mark's GoFundMe posts. All of it. And I posted it. Everywhere. Facebook. Local community pages. My own page. I didn't trash him with insults, I just laid out the facts. Said who paid for the roof. Who installed it. Who tampered with it. What caused the collapse. Then I called GoFundMe. Fraud report. 3 days later, the fundraiser was frozen. People started asking questions. A few friends unfriended me, sure. But most stayed quiet. Then I got a call. It was Mark. You piece of shit, he said before I could speak. I didn't say anything. You think you're better than me? You think this is some kind of game? You broke the roof I paid for, I said calmly. I was trying to help. I was trying to improve things. You ruined it. You humiliated me in front of everyone. No, I said. You did that all by yourself. Click. 3 months later, the house was condemned. Turns out, because Mark's upgrades weren't up to code and weren't disclosed, the insurance company refused the claim. The damage was considered homeowner negligence. My parents moved into a senior complex on the edge of town. No yard. No porch swing. No house to call theirs. And not once did they ask me why I did it. Not once did they thank me for the roof. Not once did they admit they were wrong. Next part coming. A few weeks after they moved into the complex, I got a letter in the mail. Not a text. Not a call. A letter. Handwritten by my mom. It wasn't what I expected. She didn't apologize. She didn't mention the roof or the fundraiser or Mark's lies. Instead, she wrote, "We're adjusting to the new place. It's not the home we raised you boys in, but we're making it work. Mark visits often. He's trying hard to make up for his mistakes. You should try to do the same. Family sticks together. No matter what." That line, "You should try to do the same." It made my blood boil. I spent years quietly helping them. Mark destroyed the roof I gave them and stole money from people under false pretenses, and I needed to make up for it. I didn't reply. I tossed the letter in a drawer and didn't think about it again. Or at least, I tried not to. But then something strange happened. I got a call from the roofing contractor again. He sounded annoyed. "Hey, your brother's been calling us," he said. "Asking for a copy of the original invoice. Wants proof of what was done. Said it's for a legal matter." I told him we can't release anything without your permission. What legal matter? He wouldn't say. That got me thinking. What was he up to now? I started digging again. I found it. Buried deep in a Facebook comment thread on a community page. Someone asked Mark what had really happened with the roof and the GoFundMe. He replied, "We were misled by the contractor. My brother didn't understand the materials. It was faulty from the start. They cut corners and we paid the price. I'm looking into legal options." He was trying to flip the story again. Blame the contractor. Make it look like I was the idiot who hired a scammer. Like he was the only one trying to fight for the family. I took screenshots of everything. Then I drove to Allentown. Not to talk to Mark. I went to the senior complex. Asked to speak with the building manager. Told him the situation, how my parents' house was condemned, how I had covered the cost of a roof they let fall apart. Asked if I could help with anything. Turns out, they'd been late on rent twice. I asked if I could pay a few months in advance. Quietly. No need to tell them who covered it. The manager agreed. Later that week, my dad called. "I don't know what you're doing," he said, voice cold. "But if this is some stunt to make Mark look bad, you need to stop. We're tired of the drama." I almost laughed. "I just paid your rent for the next 4 months." Silence. "You what?" "You're welcome. You think that makes you a hero?" "No," I said. "I think it keeps you from being evicted." He hung up. Then, a week later, I got an email from someone I didn't recognize. A woman named Tara. She said she was Mark's ex-girlfriend. She wrote, "I know what he did to the house. I told him not to mess with the roof. He wanted to add panels and sell the place for a profit. When it collapsed, he panicked. I left when I realized he was lying to everyone. He's planning to sue the contractor to get out of it. Said it'll make him look like the victim again. I replied. Asked her if she'd be willing to put that in writing. She said yes. Now I had a witness. Someone who knew exactly what Mark did, and why. I printed everything. Made copies. Sent it to the contractor, along with Tara's statement. I told them to be ready, just in case. Then I sent a single text to Mark. If you go after the contractor, I will bury you with everything I've got. Drop it. No reply. But a few days later, the contractor told me Mark stopped calling. Next part soon. It had been almost 2 years since I gave them the roof. 2 years since I stood in that backyard thinking maybe I'd finally earned a spot in their hearts. I should have known better. That kind of approval doesn't come from a gift. It comes from being the version of you that people want to love. And I was never that version for them. The contractor called me one last time. He'd gotten a letter from a local lawyer, just a scare tactic. Mark hadn't filed a lawsuit, but he was trying to push for a settlement, saying there were code violations and defective materials. Nothing stuck. The lawyer dropped it once the contractor sent Tara's statement and the repair report. Still, I wanted it done. I wanted it all exposed, not to the world, but to the only people who mattered in this mess, my parents. I printed everything. The receipts for the roof. The timeline. The contractor's photos. The neighbor's statements. Tara's email. The GoFundMe posts. The messages. Every word. Then I wrote a letter, short, plain. Here's everything I did. And everything Mark did. You won't say it, so I'll say it for you. You chose him, again and again. That's fine. But stop asking me to fix what he keeps breaking. I already did my part. I'm done now. I mailed it with all the evidence. A week later, I got a call. It was my mom. She was crying. I didn't know, she said. I know. We didn't mean to. You did, I said. You just didn't think I'd stop trying. Silence. You were always the quiet one, she said. We thought you didn't care. That was your mistake. Then she said something I'll never forget. We lost the house. I think we lost you too. I didn't answer. She was right. I haven't been back to Allentown since. They're still in the complex. Mark moved in with some woman in New Jersey. I heard he tried another fundraiser this time for his new life, whatever that means. It didn't go anywhere. I still work in Pittsburgh. Still live quiet. Still save my money. Only difference now is I spend it on people who see me. As for my parents, I gave them a roof. I gave them time. I gave them silence. I gave them chances. And they gave it all to him. So when the roof caved in, I didn't come running. Because you can only rebuild so many times before you realize the foundation was never yours to fix.